Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. They thought banning Earth would stop us. Now we own the galaxy. The Galactic Council thought they had won when they issued the decree that no human would be allowed to set foot on any alien world, when they shut down our trade routes, when they laughed at us from their golden thrones in orbit. Oh, they thought they had buried us. But they forgot one thing. Humans don't stay buried. We climb, we fight, we take what we need, and now we own everything. The day the ban was announced, I was just a mechanic, a nobody. I fixed old space freighters at a junkyard on Titan, trying to scrape enough credits together for a ticket off-world. I didn't care about politics, didn't care about the Council's grand proclamations, but when the broadcast came in, when I saw the smug, blue-skinned face of High Chancellor Vreck sneering down at humanity like we were insects, I knew something had changed. We, the Galactic Council, have determined that humanity is unfit for further galactic integration, he said, his voice dripping with superiority. As of this cycle, all human vessels are denied access to trade routes, stations, and colonies within Council-controlled space. Any human attempting to land on a restricted world will be arrested or executed on sight. This is the price of your kind's aggression, your inability to follow order. The news spread like wildfire. For decades, we have been clawing our way into space, making deals, running cargo, even setting up small colonies on distant moons. Sure, we weren't the biggest or the most advanced, but we were getting there. Now they wanted to cut us off, and I knew exactly why. Humans scared them. Not because we were stronger, not physically at least. The Ardent were 10 feet tall and built like living tanks. The Varans had weapons that could turn a planet into dust. The Zeri had minds that could predict an entire war before the first shot was fired. No, it wasn't our weapons or our bodies that scared them. It was our refusal to die. They had seen it time and time again. Humanity pushed to the brink, outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched, and yet we always found a way to survive, to win. This ban wasn't about punishing us. It was about containing us. And it was never going to work. The first step in taking back the galaxy wasn't some grand rebellion. It wasn't a war fleet charging into battle. It was me, a wrench in my hand, staring at the half-broken engine of a smuggler's ship and saying, "Screw it, let's go." Captain Rook was one of the few smugglers still willing to risk dealing with humans. He was Zeri, which meant he was a schemer, always looking for an angle, and he had one. "The Council's too big," he told me, his insectoid fingers tapping against the cockpit's glass. "They think empires, fleets, star systems. But you humans, you think smaller, and right now smaller is better." That's how it started. A dozen humans scattered across the black, each one finding a crack in the Council's walls and shoving a boot through it. Some stole Council tech, some hacked into supply chains, some, like me, just kept ships running, making sure the right people got where they needed to go. And then the whispers started, the ghost fleets, ships that shouldn't exist, trade routes running in the dead of space beyond any known map, a network of humans mooking through the galaxy like smoke, impossible to catch, impossible to stop. And before the Council knew it, the ban meant nothing. It took us 5 years to turn the tide. The Council's first mistake was thinking they could cut us off, but humans don't need permission to survive. They banned us from their stations. Fine. We built our own in dead zones where their sensors didn't reach. They locked down trade. We made deals with criminals, pirates, outlaws, the ones the Council had cast aside. They outlawed our ships. We stole theirs, modified them, turned their own tech against them. And when the time came, when the first human fleet emerged from the shadows, bigger and stronger than anything they had expected, they realized their second mistake. They had given us 5 years to prepare. The Battle of Orion Prime was the turning point. The Council's flagship, Judgment's Wrath, sat in orbit, its cannons primed to wipe out the human colony below. They thought they had cornered us. They thought this would be the final strike. Then the ghost fleets arrived. Hundreds of ships, human-modified, faster, deadlier. We hit them from every angle, using tricks they'd never seen, breaking every rule of space combat they had ever written. And we didn't just win, we annihilated them. The Council fell within a year. Some surrendered, some fled, a few tried to fight, but it was too late. The galaxy had already seen what humanity could do. Now we stand where they once stood, the Council's throne world ours, their fleets flying our banners, their laws rewritten in our name. And as I sit in the High Chancellor's seat, staring out at the vast expanse of stars that now belong to us, I can't help but laugh. They thought banning us would stop us. Now we own everything, and this is just the beginning. The galaxy had a new ruler, humanity. The Council's old regime had crumbled like dust, their fleets either destroyed or assimilated. What was once a bureaucratic machine of 100 alien species had become something new, something sharper, something ruthless. The old laws were gone. The treaties, the borders, the carefully negotiated peace, burned away like dead weight. In its place stood a single, undeniable truth. We take care of our own. And if the rest of the galaxy didn't like it, too damn bad. The first problem with ruling an empire is keeping it together. The Council had fallen, but their species still existed. Planets full of Zeri traders, ardent warlords, Varan engineers. None of them had stopped being threats just because their government collapsed. Some of them fell in line, realizing fast that humans weren't in the mood for another war. Others resisted, holding on to the illusion that they could fight back. I let them try. The Varan uprising on Zia's 4 lasted a total of 3 weeks before the Ghost Fleet shut it down. The Ardent's last warlord, Ra the Blooded, made his stand on an asteroid stronghold in the Jan Belt. We couldn't even fight him. Just cut off his supply lines. Left him and his warriors to rot in the dark. The only ones who adapted quickly were the Zeri, born schemers, natural survivors. They were the first to swear loyalty to the New Order. They had spent centuries manipulating the Council from the shadows, and they had no problem doing the same with humanity. The difference was we saw them coming. That's why we made an example of Rook. Captain Rook had been one of the first aliens to believe in us. He'd smuggled humans across the galaxy when the Council tried to erase us. Helped us steal the first warships we ever used. And yet when the dust settled, he did what Zeri always did. He plotted. He thought he could play both sides, thought he could make deals with the remnants of the Council, pit us against each other, maybe even restore some balance of power. I met him face to face in the Grand Hall of Orion Prime. Once the Council's greatest stronghold, now ours. He stood there, his insectoid eyes twitching, calculating, already looking for a way out. You don't have to do this, he said, voice smooth, persuasive. I helped you. You did, I agreed. And now I have to help humanity. I shot him in the head. No trial, no speeches, no warnings. The message was simple: we don't play games. The galaxy changed overnight. With every planet we took, humanity's influence grew. We rewrote the laws, reshaped the markets, took control of everything that mattered. The old species called us tyrants. Maybe we were, but we weren't stupid. The Council had ruled with arrogance, assuming they were invincible, believing their bureaucracy made them strong. That was their weakness. We didn't make the same mistake. We ruled with results. Trade flowed better than it ever had under the Council because we cut out the red tape. Crime plummeted because we made punishment swift and absolute. Every species under our control had a choice: contribute or disappear. Some resisted. A Zeri rebellion tried to assassinate me on Orion Prime. A group of ardent warriors made one last desperate push on the outer rim. None of them lasted. The thing is, the Council had assumed banning humans would break us, that without their infrastructure, their support, we would wither and die. But they had underestimated just how good we were at surviving in the dark. For years, we had been the outcasts, the unwanted. We had learned to build our own stations, our own supply chains, our own weapons. By the time we took over, we didn't need the old systems. We were the system. And now, as I sit at the heart of a galaxy that finally belongs to us, I realize something else. The fight isn't over. This was just the beginning. Because ruling an empire is one thing, keeping it, that's where the real war begins. We thought victory meant peace, that once we shattered the Council, took the throne, and carved our names into the stars, we'd finally have a chance to breathe, to build, to rule. But the galaxy wasn't done fighting us. The old order had been wiped away, but chaos doesn't disappear overnight. The species we conquered weren't just going to bow and accept their new human overlords. No matter how many planets we took, no matter how many rebellions we crushed, there was always someone waiting in the dark, sharpening their knives. And the worst part, some of them weren't alien. Some of them were human. The first sign of trouble came from within. Admiral Calloway was one of ours. A war hero, a leader. He had commanded the ghost fleets in the war, orchestrated the strike on Orion Prime. His strategies had turned human insurgents into an unstoppable force. So when I got word that he had gone rogue, I didn't want to believe it. Not rogue, General Vasquez argued. He's just doing what he's always done, thinking 3 steps ahead. Then why the hell is he stockpiling weapons on the edge of known space? I snapped. Why is he fortifying planets that were never part of our war plan? No one had an answer for that, and that's what scared me. I found Calloway on a dead moon, surrounded by warships that shouldn't exist. The moment I stepped onto the bridge of his flagship Iron Rain, I knew the rumors were true. He wasn't just preparing for a fight, he was preparing for the fight against us. You've built yourself a nice little empire, Calloway said, standing by the viewport, watching as his fleet loomed over the barren world below. But you've forgotten something important. I folded my arms. Enlighten me. His gaze was sharp, calculating, the same look I'd seen 1,000 times in war councils back when we were on the same side. We were never meant to rule, he said. We were meant to conquer. I clenched my jaw. We won the war, Calloway. That's done. He turned to me, stepping closer. The council is gone. But do you think the galaxy will ever accept us? They'll smile, nod, pretend to obey, but the second they see weakness, they'll turn. We have a window, a short one, to finish the job. And what does finishing the job look like to you? His answer was simple: eradication. I left that meeting knowing one thing: Calloway wasn't just a problem. He was the problem. He wanted war without end, to burn the entire galaxy to ash and rebuild it in humanity's image. And the worst part, he had the firepower to do it. Iron Rain wasn't the only warship he had hidden away. He had been building, gathering, preparing since the day we took power. Some of this fleet came from human engineers, ships built in secret beyond our jurisdiction. Others, they were stolen alien warships retrofitted with human tech, turned into something deadlier than anything the Council had ever fielded. I had 2 choices: let him wage his war or stop him before it was too late. I chose the second. The battle wasn't fought in the heart of the Empire. It was fought in the shadows, in uncharted space, in the places where humanity had once hidden when the Council tried to erase us. The irony wasn't lost on me. Calloway's forces struck first. He hit supply lines, ambushed our patrols, took key stations before we even realized he was making his move. He wasn't just trying to win. He was making a statement that we were the traitors, that he was the true leader of humanity. It didn't matter that I had taken the throne, that I had crushed the old order. Calloway had followers, loyalists who believed humanity's survival depended on domination, not diplomacy. So we hunted them, planet by planet, ship by ship, until the only place left to run was the dead moon where it all started. The final battle wasn't glorious. It was brutal. Calloway's forces were fanatics, fighting to the last, refusing to surrender even when it was clear they had lost. They weren't just soldiers. They were believers. And believers don't break, they burn. I faced Calloway in the ruined halls of Iron Rain, the flagship that had once been my pride, now torn apart by human hands. Blood slicked the floors, bodies lined the walls, but he still stood tall, his face a mask of cold determination. "This is how it ends?" he asked, his voice almost amused. "This is how you end," I corrected. He smiled, not bitter, not angry, almost proud. "Then I guess that makes you the real ruler." I pulled the trigger. The war was over, but peace, that was still a long way off. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but now they had learned something else. We weren't just warriors. We weren't just survivors. We were rulers. And no one, not aliens, not traitors, not anyone, was ever going to take that from us again. The war against Calloway was over. His fleet was gone, his fanatics silenced. His dream of turning the galaxy into a burning monument to human dominance had died with him. But something else had been born in the ashes. A question. Had I just saved humanity from a madman, or had I killed the only man willing to do what was necessary? Ruling an empire is different from taking one. During the war, decisions were simple: kill or be killed, fight or die. But now I sat on a throne built by blood, staring down at reports filled with problems I couldn't shoot my way out of. Trade routes needed stabilizing. Rebellions were brewing on the outer colonies. Some of the old alien factions, silent since the fall of the Council, were starting to test our defenses, waiting to see if the new rulers of the galaxy could bleed. And the worst part, humanity itself was fracturing. The war had united us. We had fought as one because we had to. But now, without a common enemy, cracks were forming. Politicians on Earth wanted to consolidate power, to rule the empire from the home world. Colonists on Mars and Titan wanted independence, sick of answering to Earth's demands. The military, still loyal to me but restless, wanted expansion, to keep pushing outward, claiming new worlds. Everyone wanted something, and all of them were looking at me to decide. The first challenge came from Earth. President Ariel Lang had once been a supporter of mine. She had funded the ghost fleets in secret when the Council tried to crush us. But now that we had won, she had different ideas about what victory should look like. "We need stability," she said, her image flickering on the holoscreen in my private war room. "You can't rule from Orion Prime like some warlord king. The Senate on Earth should oversee the new government." I stared at her, expression unreadable. "You mean control it?" Her lips thinned. "You were a soldier, not a politician. You don't understand how fragile this is. The other species will never accept human rule if we act like conquerors." I leaned back, exhaling slowly. "You think Earth should rule because it was the first human world. I think Earth is just another planet now." Her expression darkened. "You wouldn't dare cut Earth out of the equation." "I don't take orders from Earth," I said. "Not anymore." The transmission cut. I had just made an enemy. The second challenge came from the aliens. The Zeller had been quiet since Rook's execution, but silence didn't mean surrender. They were already working behind the scenes, pulling old strings, trying to find weaknesses in our rule, so I forced their hand. I sent a message to their ruling syndicate: "Your people thrive under our rule. The old council is dead. We are the future. Serve willingly, and you will prosper. Resist, and I will finish what Calloway started." They sent a polite, diplomatic reply, and then they tried to assassinate me. The explosion should have killed me. I had been inspecting one of the rebuilt shipyards on Titan when the charges went off. Half the station was vaporized in a blinding flash, steel and bodies hurled into the void. I survived because I had never trusted the Zeri to begin with. I had changed my arrival schedule at the last minute. The assassins had planned for the wrong target, the wrong time. Instead of my death, they got war. I didn't give them a second chance. I sent the fleet not to negotiate, not to posture, to burn there.